One of the biggest challenges with carbon pricing is disinformation. Disinformation blames it for the increased cost of living. Carbon pricing has had almost no effect on inflation or grocery prices.
Welcome to Moose on the Loose. In today's top stories, we've got Danielle Smith dropping the hammers on the woke left. The left are using a lot of aggressive language, which doesn't seem to be serving their cause. We've got some updates from Jagmeet, Dominic, LeBlanc, as well as the woke left don't like what's going on social media. They don't like YouTubers like myself putting out the honest, real message of what is going on in Canada. So let's jump into this. Jagmeet Singh had a few words to say about the whole situation that's going on with Trump and all of that.
Global News is reporting on intelligence documents warning that some Canadians seem to think they can threaten, encourage, and cheer on political violence without consequence. What do you think should be done to crack down on violent threats against elected officials in this country?
Yeah, this is something that we're seeing, and I guess the earlier question from CTV was alluding to this. That is a very serious problem. Like when people say, I disagree with you, that's one thing. But when there's specific threats of violence, that should be taken with the utmost seriousness. People in the public politicians should not be allowed to have threats of violence against their political opponents, people they disagree with. Those threats of violence create a climate where violence is okay. And that's very serious. That cannot be allowed. When we see that on social media, we see a climate of cheering on or encouraging violence, and that has to be something that we all collectively say clearly that is not a functioning society if people that you disagree with are threatened with physical violence. We do not want that. It should not be that you have to be prepared to endure physical violence or threats of physical violence to get into politics. We don't want that, obviously. That's not a safe place, and that's not a good place to be for politics. So I think we need to send clear denouncement of any inflaming of acts of violence. Threats of violence should not be applauded or supported or encouraged online. And we need to take clear action against those type of things.
Singh is one of the worst culprits for inciting hate and violence, second only to Trudeau. Remember when he lied and said the Freedom Convoy were white supremacists and arsonists? Communists always lie. Socialists lie more than they breathe. Next up, we've got Danielle Smith here, absolutely ripping the woke left, putting them right in their place.
I think everybody's very concerned. When you see an attempted assassination and that kind of political violence, it's unacceptable. And I'm glad that we're beginning to see that they've recognized that things have gone too far. The way in which conservative politicians have been characterized is outrageous. And that is, I think, led to the culture that we've seen in the U.S. And I certainly hope that some of the progressive politicians here are careful of their language, because they've been talking about conservative politicians in the same way, and they need to dial it down. Like what? Have you not looked at the headlines about how Pierre Poilievre is described as dangerous? How the leader of the opposition in Alberta has described me as dangerous? When you start using that kind of rhetoric, that ends up creating an elevated risk for all of us. And I think we have to be very mindful that we can have a disagreement in politics, but we have to stick to the issues. This is what I love about this table, actually, is that we come from different political perspectives, and we're all able to get along and find areas of agreement.
You're a pretty forceful speaker yourself, Premier Smith, and I wonder if as you've asked others to take some reflection, have you had any reflection about your own rhetoric?
I always stay focused on issues and focused on finding ways that we can debate issues, and I think it should be focused on issues. I think when you start name calling and you start calling and start describing people in a way that is inappropriate and creates a dangerous environment, I think people have to be self-reflective.
Thanks, everybody. Interesting choice of words there from that reporter, basically calling her, what she said, oh, you're forceful.
You're a pretty forceful speaker.
Right here, you're a pretty forceful speaker. No, she's just direct. She's straight to the point. She doesn't BS. She doesn't flower it up like Trudeau and glaze it with just a layer of crap. It's just delivered straight. These woke reporters... Let's see what the people had to say. She is right. Now and before as well, liberals were attacking conservatives all the time. Even schools were propagating anti-conservatism. It's so obvious that liberals are brewing hate against conservative people by using public media. I mean, they own the public media. 100% agree you can't negotiate with liberalism or NDPism. Meanwhile, Danielle Smith doesn't bother to clean up her own backyard. I mean, one person with this on their vehicle, what is that, Danielle Smith's fault? Alberta is so lucky to have her. For starters, in no way ever should tax-funded media be used for one political party's advantage. $1.4 billion per year is weaponized to their advantage, to say the very least. Yeah. CBC, it's ridiculous. Here we got a poll showing the direction of Canada in red and the world flat. Canada's going down. Next up, we got Dominic LeBlanc talking on the same topic here.
Are you worried about yourself personally holding public events after what happened at the Trump rally?
No, I have every confidence that the RCMP take all the steps necessary to protect Canadian politicians. Yesterday, I convened a briefing with the Commissioner of the RCMP, the Director of CSIS, the Deputy Minister of Public Safety. They went through the threat landscape. They talked to me about the additional vigilance that they've put in place since the assassination attempt on former President Trump Saturday evening. The CSIS is always at work collecting information that helps the RCMP adjust the security posture where necessary. You'll understand that we don't discuss details of particular security measures. That's one of the pieces of advice that we get. But I am confident that the RCMP will do what's necessary to protect elected leaders in Canada. I exchanged messages, text messages with Mr. Poilievre yesterday as well to assure him that the RCMP were in contact with his office. And there again, all of the appropriate steps will be in place to ensure that people can participate in a democracy in a safe way. If you want to change the government, you participate in an election and you go to vote. You don't engage in acts of political violence. That's what's so disturbing about what we saw with former President Trump on Wednesday evening, where innocent people participating in a political event were severely injured, and in the case of one person lost his life. That's obviously worrisome in every democracy. I was in Washington last week and met with Secretary Mayorkas, the Homeland Security Secretary, and on Wednesday evening we actually discussed the increased risk of violence in political campaigns and against political leaders. And then when I spoke to him Saturday evening, when we saw what had happened at President Trump's rally, it reminded us of the importance of working together and taking all the steps that are necessary.
Well, what does the RCMP do to protect Canadians from filthy, low-life, bottom-feeder, corrupt politicians? We already see RCMP protects politicians. We don't feel confident RCMP will protect ordinary Canadians. Indicators suggest RCMP may actually hate us. I think the RCMP is supposed to be arresting some of our politicians. The fact that they aren't proved they are corrupt and do not represent the people. So I've got this post here, which is interesting. Constitutional Gator found this. It says, look what I found on Facebook, disgusting, posted by Linda Peterson. Damn it, he didn't die. Well, at least one supporter did. I'll take what I can get. This is vile. This is absolutely putrid. And, well, the internet has already taken care of this. So they found her on Facebook. Then they found her business address. You can't, the people find everything. It's like they found out who the shooter was within like 20, 30 minutes it was on there. So, I mean, they've already gone through and found everything, her phone number, or the whole business. This is terrible. One of the major things popping up now is the Liberals, they keep pushing that Canadians need different news sources, not people like me. No. Because I know I'm not paid off by big media, so I must have some agenda, right? Or maybe it's just I'm an honest Canadian that's bringing honest news. I dig through a bunch of stuff and provide the honest truth. But they don't like that. And that's what they're explaining here in this Cpac report.
Alistair, what would you say to that in terms of government responsibility versus others?
Well, I mean, I think we need some measure of algorithmic transparency at holding these companies accountable for their terms of service. And investing in fact-checking, because again, I know people might grow concerned about a growing government role in this, but in the absence of that, what you're essentially saying is you're trusting people like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg to do the policing for you. Billionaire CEOs whose only interest is to get more profit returned to their companies to pad their bank accounts. So again, if you remove the word social, these are media companies.
To pad the bank accounts is so rich, coming from the Liberals. You guys are doing nothing but pad your bank accounts. Eco Green Slush Fund, scandal after scandal. Who's the other Randy? Where's Randy? Oh, it's a bunch of money for Randy. Which Randy?
You as a journalist and all media, traditional media, are held to journalistic standards. I think we need to see some sort of similar thing where there is some reliable way of fact-checking the content that is put out there, because, again, it gets disseminated so fast and so quickly, and we're often having to be put in the positions as politicians to react to it.
Yeah, the problem is you guys are putting out misinformation. I mean, look at Justin Trudeau, 8 out of 10 carbon tax. Like, that's misinformation. It's ridiculous. These guys want to police the internet because they don't like that their lies are getting exposed to the world and Canadians. So the guy who posted this here, government.exe is corrupt. He says it's funny that he's also blocked by Alistair. So this guy's an NDP guy, but the other guy, Anthony Housefather here, he had some stuff to say too. This clip here is posted on Gerritson's account here. It says, according to Anthony Housefather, if you don't get all your information from the New York Times, Washington Post, or the Globe and Mail, you might succumb to a different worldview, which obviously is wrong-think.
Social media companies have tons of misinformation floating upon it. Most people today, especially young people, get their news from platforms like TikTok or other social media platforms. And when you get your news from there, you start believing every little thing that you read on there. And what the social media platforms also do is they use algorithms to direct you to content that they believe you will like in order to monetize the platform and keep you there as long as possible. So people, if you believe in a certain type of misinformation, are directed to more of that misinformation. And eventually you come out with a worldview that is very different than if you read the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Globe and Mail or the National Post. What's really going on here is Anthony Housefather doesn't like free speech. He doesn't like people speaking up against this liberal corruption that's going on. And he's just one of these other scumbags like Trudeau that needs to be kicked out of office, needs to have everything that he's done, as well as all the other liberals, a forensic audit on every single thing, where all the dollars have gone, what they're involved in, and let the chips fall where they fall. So like when the Globe and Mail that blew the whistle on their corrupt government, that Globe and Mail, this guy's such a loser. Housefather, with his reputation, could have ousted this liberal government. He chose not to, and he's directly responsible for what is happening. Never forget his betrayal. He's the absolute worst of the bunch. Next up, we've got this post here by Sean Fraser. Failure, Sean Fraser. We're making the largest investment in cooperative housing in over 30 years. Yeah, that's because there's been no cooperative housing in 30 years. And the application window is now open. And you're in luck because we got Adam King Eco here, Vancouver, to tell us all about it.
What if I told you that housing could focus on people and not just profit? Or that housing could be a right and not just an investment asset? Housing like this exists. They're called co-ops, and I know because I grew up in one. Co-ops can be apartment buildings with hundreds of units, or it can be a townhouse complex, like here at Chautauqua. The size of a home doesn't make it a co-op, a core principle does. Co-ops are a community where residents jointly own and manage their homes, and any surplus dollars get reinvested back into the co-op to benefit everyone who lives there, and everybody who will one day. They're nonprofits, which means these homes stay affordable over the long term. In the 1970s and 80s, Canada built tens of thousands of co-ops from coast to coast.
Co-op has opened its doors to everyone. Canada's first co-op apartment building.
Because managing a co-op means new responsibilities.
Then in the 1990s, cutbacks and austerity stopped that altogether. And for almost 30 years, Canada just hasn't been building the kind of homes that Canadians need and can afford. Just like this beautiful community, Chautauqua Co-op. It gave my family a chance. It gave me the opportunity to compete for Canada at the Olympics.
Speed for victory! Olympic gold!
And eventually to represent my community in Parliament in Ottawa. We've taken on that responsibility to invest in cooperative housing. We want to make sure that more Canadian families have these opportunities to invest in their futures and their lives, not just profit for big companies. Canadians should not have to worry about how they're going to make rent next month. So we're starting a new co-op housing program, the first of its kind in 30 years, in partnership with the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada.
From Canadian Olympian to Canadian loser, Adam Vancouverton. This cooperative housing is ridiculous. People don't want the government involved in housing. Just stop bringing in we thought it was 1.2 million. They actually brought in 1.44 million people last year. Like 1,443,000 people, almost 1.5 million people. That's why we have the problem. You guys talk about, the affordable housing. Yeah, you guys are the affordable housing problem. These boneheads are so stupid or arrogant or just diabolical. Pick one. This cooperative housing thing, we don't need it. Like, people just want the government to get out of our way. That's it. Imagine pitching Canadians a poverty plan to live because the Liberals cause poverty through socialism, and the stupid believe this is an actual solution. Who is we? And with what money? Record debt? Record deficit under your government? And do you even know what invest means? How much is the return? You and your paddle buddy should stick to tandem rowing in that single seat kayak. Yeah, no kidding. Any homes being built now were on the drawing board years ago. You can't take credit for anything being built this year. It takes years to get local approvals to build condos and apartments. step away from the microphone. You mean ghettos, known as ghettos. There's a lot of people saying ghettos in here. We've also got Stepen Gibo posting a bunch of stuff today. We'll show you this one where it's just a whole bunch of climate change garbage, 8 out of 10, blah, blah. This one's a little bit different. It's an animated thing here, posted by Ryan Gerritsen here. It says, Stepen Gibo just released this lame PSA. The carbon tax is being used to force us to change our behavior, which in return has zero effect on the climate. I can't wait for this eco-extremist to go.
Climate change is hurting the things we love most. From the food we grow, to the activities we do, to the iconic landscapes across Canada. But there's hope. Putting a price on carbon pollution encourages individuals, businesses, and industries to reduce their use of fossil fuels, which are causing the climate to change. And it's working, playing a key role in cutting our emissions across Canada. Many countries have a price on carbon pollution, and it's been used in Canada for more than 15 years.
Wouldn't the solution just to have a lower birth rate and have less people on planet Earth? Isn't that what you guys are really promoting here?
It's been proven to drive innovation and investment in renewable energy and create jobs. One of the biggest challenges with carbon pricing is disinformation. Disinformation blames it for the increased cost of living. But the truth is, the cost of living has increased all around the world. Carbon pricing has had almost no effect on inflation or grocery prices. And
what a load of crap. We all know it.
Because Canada's approach to pricing pollution is designed to be affordable, it puts more money back in the pockets of.
This is so stupid. There's no logic here that makes sense. If you increase the cost of gas, thus the truckers and every other industry involved in moving food around, it makes the food more expensive. There's just no other way around that unless we have teleporters, which we don't have. So these liberals are just lying out of their butts again.
Families. All the money collected is pooled together. It's then split equally among every household in the province where it was collected.
It's not true. I have to pay carbon tax. I don't get a dime back. It's just lie after lie after lie.
Through the Canada Carbon Rebate. Households that cut their pollution pay less. And because they get the same rebate as everyone else, they benefit more. 8 out of...
If they really wanted to do this, they should have made it a mandate across Canada and take over carbon tax in Quebec and BC so it's fair across the board. Everything they do is the stupidest way possible.
10 households that receive the rebate get more money back than they pay.
That's a lie.
To learn more about how carbon pricing benefits you, visit canada.ca.
No, I'm not visiting that website. This is just propaganda. This is the same level of propaganda like from China, Mao time, Stalin, the funny mustache guy from the Second World Event. Straight up propaganda. The carbon pricing is pooled together, then separated equally. How much of that money goes towards paying all the government employees to administer this program? That answer is about $200 million. I wonder how much money did this misinformation cartoon cost us? Probably a lot. Let's look at this article here from the Counter Signal. It says, survey finds most Canadians are clueless about politics. Now, obviously you guys are not watching this, but most people I think really are, which is a sad thing, which is why we're in this position we are today. People just look at Trudeau like, oh yeah, he's got some nice hair and they vote for him. And then we ended up with Captain Schmuck in power. So this survey here, it says they surveyed 2,000 people roughly. Majority of Canadians, 61%, did not recognize Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, 61%. Only 20% of people recognized Melanie Joly. Only 7% that recognized Mark Carney. 96% of people don't recognize Housing Minister Sean Fraser, the ultimate failure of Sean Fraser. It's amazing because housing is such a major problem in Canada. People don't recognize this guy who's destroying it first through immigration and second through housing. We've got 96% unfamiliar with Dominic LeBlanc. On the flip side, it says Prime Minister Justin Trudeau remains the most recognized political figure in Canada, identified by 98% of Canadians. That is pretty crazy. While Jagmeet Singh is recognized by 84% and Pierre Poilievre recognized by 66%. Finally, we've got Elizabeth May at 50% and Yves-Francois Blanchet of the Bloc Québécois, which is only recognized by 20% of people. 49% recognition in Quebec. So that basically sums up most people only know Justin Trudeau Next up, we got this short 11-second clip of Stephen Harper basically telling us he was right. It says, Harper warned everyone, Toronto and Quebec voted for this crap. If there was ever a time he should have lived in those empty effing skulls, it was here.
Not do. These guys would have had in the last 2 weeks us throwing open our borders and literally hundreds of thousands of people coming without any kind of security check or documentation.
And that's
some other
not true, Mr. Harper.
You hear Justin Trudeau saying that's not true. He literally just let in, as I said, 1.4 something million this year. It's 100% true. Trudeau, you liar. Harper knew. Harper was right. Harper was 100% right. Trudeau destroyed Canada on many levels. Imagine what we traded him in for. He was correct again. Canada really misses Harper, a failed nation under this Liberal government. Let's not romanticize Harper, but he was right here, though. He was 100% right, and this is the biggest issue that he's right on. Remember when we had a PM who was a serious person? I miss Harper and even Chrétien. So speaking of immigration, we've got this here. It says yesterday, Finland approved a law preventing immigrants from crossing the border. Immigrants arriving at the border will not be accepted and will be pushed back. Today, Muslim immigrants held a protest march against this law in Helsinki. So what I don't get here was, did they already storm the gates? Where are they? They're in the city? I don't know, things are getting a little crazy here. Finland, though, not wanting any more immigration. It comes down to it, they make their own rules, so they act so entitled, think they can come into the West illegally. Why do they think like this? What gives them the right to come and enjoy the great things of the rest of Finnish people have already built? Why are they forcing themselves into Finland? So they don't like it. They fear it will spread to Sweden, Denmark, and elsewhere in Europe. This means Finland is damn right in its decision. God bless Finland. Well done, Finland. We should do the same in Sweden and Denmark. So people pushing back. Jumping over my group, let's see what memes we've got today. Where are you going? Who's going to work for our benefits? Yeah, no kidding. All the Canadians are leaving. Canadian vacation. Question, is it at all positive to switch my kickstand to the other side? I can no longer stand even my motorcycle leaning to the left. Saskatchewan wins injunction to block CRA from collecting carbon tax. So I did a video on that, I don't know, maybe a week ago. Justin Trudeau and, trying to steal money like $28 million or something in carbon tax from Saskatchewan government. Looks like they failed. Guess they can't just steal money from their provincial. I mean, there's a law in place. They can't do that. But of course, Trudeau's got to waste our money on lawyers and stuff. And then Saskatchewan has to defend themselves with lawyers wasting more money. Like, what an idiot. Why doesn't he just do something right for once? Even a moose started working in Banff because Trudeau economy. Which scandal should I wear today? Eco Green Slush Fund, Winnipeg Lab Leak, Weed Charity, Rive Scam, SNC Lavalin. Like, there's like 16 more of them. That's where we're gonna wrap up this episode. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about Danielle Smith's comments, as well as the Liberals, the woke left, pushing back. They don't like social media posts. They don't like people like me who bring the honest truth. They're desperately trying to find their own influencers and outlets, which don't really exist because nobody's watching the woke left. Why would you? There's already the CBC that's pushing propaganda, but let me know what you guys think down below. Thanks for watching the end of the video here. I greatly appreciate it. Hit the thumbs up. Big thanks to all the channel members. We're going to keep fighting for freedom here, and I'll see you guys in the next one.